Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm PPE and this is the Peso Pro episodes where we talk about money management tips and peso tricks. If you're looking for personal finance tips, you've come to the right place. If you haven't done so yet, we would greatly appreciate it if you can hit the subscribe button. Today, we're gonna talk about a topic of rising importance in 2020 and I'm sure will continue to make a big splash in the coming year. I'm talking about digital banks in the Philippines, their importance, what they are, what features they offer versus the traditional banks. And stick around until the end because I'm gonna share some tips that I can actually share with you because I personally use these banks to meet some objectives in how I manage my funds. Digital banks are mainly built with a digital mindset. When they were created, the design of the process was that you don't need to interact with a physical branch to open an account. So if naalala nyo pa, when you opened a bank account and you had to fill up multiple forms, wait in line, and actually do it for like 1 to 2 hours at a branch, do all the steps and wait for your bank details after a certain number of days, those days are gone because with the digital bank, the process can take actually as little as 10 minutes as long as you have all of the requirements in place. The great thing about digital banks also is that they are designed so that you don't have to go to a physical branch to transact. Meaning, the operating costs of these digital banks are very, very low, and that's why probably you've seen some of these digital banks already offer very, very good interest rates versus what the traditional banks can offer. In this video, we're gonna talk about 5 of the most commonly used and actually most famous digital banks that are currently in offer in the Philippines. I know by reading some articles that I probably sense that in 2021 we'll see more banks pop up, but for the meantime, these are the 5 offerings that you can choose from and learn how they work from a broad sense. If you want to learn about a specific bank in more detail, feel free to comment down below so that we know that you have interest in learning about it, or if you have specific questions, feel free to do so. The first question that I typically hear when I talk about digital banks is it really safe to invest or put money in these banks? And the answer I give is yes. These banks have a lot of similarities in their processes, their requirements, and some of their common features. All of them are being managed by the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, meaning all of them have BSP licenses for them to operate as a bank in the Philippines, and all of them are under the PDIC's insurance of a maximum of 500,000 per depositor. Typically, they are about as safe as your traditional banks. It's just that you can't see them every other corner in your city or where you live or work. The 5 banks that we are going to talk about in this video are as follows. I will also share with you the parent bank that backs up the current digital banking infrastructure of each. The first one is CIMB. CIMB is a leading bank in Malaysia and has several branches across ASEAN. CIMB has 2 offerings in the Philippines. One is an UpSave account that you can open directly with the bank, or you can also open a CIMB account through GCash's GSave feature. This means that CIMB actually partnered with GCash to create savings accounts and make it a bit more accessible. You can create a GSave account within the GCash app. GCash is currently the Philippines' leading mobile wallet, so I'm pretty sure you probably heard that from online selling or even in Lazada. The second one is an ING account. ING is a leading bank in the European Union with branches across several countries. They're the leading retail bank in the Netherlands and also in the nearby countries like Luxembourg and Belgium. ING offers a digital bank savings account that you can also create directly within their app. The third one is Komo, which is a digital banking subsidiary of East West Bank. So just to be clear po, Komo does not intend to replace East West Bank. So if you have accounts in East West Bank, they're separate. You have to create another account with Komo to be able to enjoy the features and benefits of a Komo account. Komo's name gets it from the slogan of Control Mo, Pera Mo, which basically is the bank's financial literacy push so that the goal of the app, besides digitizing or making it easy for people to sign up, is also to bring about financial literacy for more Filipinos. The fourth is in the similar range. It's called Diskartech, which is also backed by RCBC. So similar to Komo, Diskartech is a digital banking platform of RCBC. Again, not intended to replace RCBC, but it's backed, and actually some of the learnings that RCBC has is probably applying to Diskartech. Diskartech prides itself to be the first and probably the only app that has Taglish language embedded into the app. This means that it makes it a bit more accessible for more Filipinos and a bit more relatable. They also want to be branded as a super app with multiple financial products available within the whole ecosystem. So you can actually do savings account, which is the anchor, and then you can do other transactions like bills payments and other things that they will come up with in the coming months. The last one is iSave from Maybank, a leading bank in Malaysia. The iSave account has a lot of features that you can get if you create a separate iSave account. If you are a Maybank account holder, this does not automatically mean that you can just migrate your account in Maybank to iSave. You have to create separate accounts. So just take note of that. These are the 5 most common digital banks today. For purposes of this video, I did not include the Union Bank app because essentially the Union Bank app is only there as a facilitator of transactions that you can do with the Union Bank main brick and mortar traditional bank. Meaning you cannot open a different product using the app versus when you actually went to a branch. So there's really no difference between the products you can do online and offline. The great thing that I personally like about the digital banks is that they actually allow you to open an account with 0 pesos and allow you to maintain that account with no maintaining balance. I think this is one of the biggest changes when people went digital. It's because the amount of processing that is required to maintain a bank account just significantly dropped because now you can automate almost everything. So that means pwede po kayong mag-open ng account without any deposit whatsoever, but you will have an account number by the end of the application. Just note that all of these banks currently do not offer checkbooks or checking accounts as an option, meaning when you apply for an account, they are all defaulted to be savings accounts. Now let's talk about the differences of these banks, and hopefully this will give you some way to choose which one of the banks you prefer or you would want to try out. First, and probably the most common and most interesting thing that you will probably ask about these banks is, what do interest rates look like? I summarized the interest rates as of January 2021. These can be subject to fluctuation or changes without prior notice, so please do check the official websites, which we will link to in the description below, so that you get the latest and most reliable information from these banks before making a decision. Most of these banks will offer an interest rate between 2 to 3 or 4% depending on the promotional offers that they have at any given point in time. Today, a GSave account offers 3.1% per annum gross, which means this can be the amount of interest that you will earn per year, assuming your money stayed in that account for the full year. ING currently has 2.5%, Komo has 3%, Diskartech has 3.25%, and iSave at a 0.25% per year. It is important to note though that CIMB and ING currently have promotions that will offer up until a 4% interest rate on your deposit subject to specific criteria. So please do read the terms and conditions that you have in their official website so that you understand the full amount. For example, for CIMB, this applies to both UpSave and GSave. The requirement is that you have a minimum 100,000 pesos so that you can qualify for the 4% per annum. This 4% per annum only applies up until the 250,000 amount. Anything beyond 250,000 will earn a 3.5% interest rate. Couple more questions that I typically get asked about digital banks is, how do you actually top up the money inside? In most of these banks, or actually all of them, accept some form of bank transfer, meaning you can use InstaPay from your traditional bank to send money, or most of them will also have very specific partners with physical stores like Bayad Center, the big pawn shops like Cebuana, Luwilier, and other over-the-counter options so that you can actually top up by depositing accounts account through these options. You can also send money from most of the major payment wallets like GCash and Paymaya over to the bank account via InstaPay as well. To cash out, there are multiple ways. Most of them accept InstaPay for cash out, which means you can transfer from this bank to another bank for a fee. Some of them will have promotional offers that will allow you to actually send money for free. So just take note about what's currently in effect so that you are aware of the fees. In all of the apps that I tried, they actually tell you the amount of fee before you click on the confirm button so that at least you know how much you're gonna pay for the transaction. For cash out, there's also an option for ATM access. Most of them offer a physical ATM except for Diskartech. Diskartech only does virtual card, but you can access it still using an RCBC ATM through the cardless withdrawal process that you can learn in their website. They would have varying fees per bank depending on which ATMs you use, but the safe assumption is that every time you use an ATM that is not within the bank's network, you will have to pay. Some of them waive certain fees, so also just take note because these tend to fluctuate depending on the bank's offer. The current amount of fees that ATMs charge is somewhere in the range of 10 to 12 pesos per transaction. The other common question I get from people about these banks is, are they capable of giving bank statements and bank certificates for certain transactions? You would typically need this if you were applying for a travel visa or transacting maybe a loan requiring you to show proof of your financial transactions. Most of the digital banks currently do not have bank certificate, bank statement facility except for ING. ING has capability to issue bank statements in-app, and they can also give you a bank certificate upon request via their app or via emailing customer support. This may take time because there's no physical branch that you can transact with, but at least they actually said that you can request for a bank certificate if you would need one, depending on the purpose that you would require it for. The other bank said they're working on it, or they certainly just do not have that functionality as of today. So that's one thing you can probably consider. And that's why I will share with you later in the video how I actually manage my money and how I incorporate digital banks as part of my money management system. A few more quirks in these banks is that typically in a bank, you would expect that they will have other products in place. So, for example, like loans or insurance policies, some of these banks are not fully equipped yet, but I'm pretty sure that they're working on other products to offer. Today, if you want to take a loan from these banks, the only bank that offer among the five that we're talking about today is CIMB that offers a personal loan. All of the other banks don't have lending embedded into their app yet. That doesn't mean to say they will not add in the future, but as of now, only CIMB has that functionality that you can use the app and your account with them to open for a personal loan. A few other quirks on these banks is some banks offer free life insurance coverage for the average daily balance that you maintain in the last 2 to 3 months. CIMB currently has a promotion that they will actually give you free life insurance from one of their partners of up until 1 million pesos based on the amount that you kept with the bank. This is free life insurance, which is, I think, a great way for you to actually top up your existing coverage or start learning about insurance if you're anyway going to save for an amount that you are gonna put in a digital bank. Another quirk that I personally like is ING's feature of being able to accept deposits from checks, so check deposits through the app. All you have to do is to follow the prompt in app so that you can take photos of the physical check that you are holding, of the amount issued to you. The check has to be having your complete name that is matching with the bank account that you are depositing to within ING. But other than that, you can technically take check deposits digitally and will not require you to go to a physical branch to do so. I personally urge you to look at these 5 banks websites. They have very good FAQ sections that answers a lot of the common questions already. If you're more of the learn as we go type of person, there's perfectly no reason why you shouldn't try out any of the banks. There's no maintaining balance, no any amount that you need to open except maybe for a few minutes of your time to go through the process altogether. If you do that, you're probably gonna learn a bit more of the bank as you go around the bank's apps. I personally use the GSave account from CIMB. I found that the integration with GCash is actually very, very good. I can do transfers from within GCash into my CIMB account and vice versa. CIMB also supports InstaPay and PesoNet, so I can actually transfer money in via InstaPay and transfer money out via PesoNet to another account if I need that money within today or the next day. If you're to ask me my top two choices, I would go with CIMB's GSave or UpSave account and ING's deposit account. The reason why I didn't pick the other three is that iSave from Maybank offers very, very low rates at 0.25%. It's almost comparable with a traditional bank. So going through the hassle of maintaining or opening another one just doesn't make sense for me. I also really like Komo and Diskartech to really blow up. But for now, some of the features that they have, like from a bills payment standpoint, and even Diskartech having a max deposit of 48,000 pesos up until today, is very limiting. And I hope that they fine-tune some of these processes when they actually keep on developing the app. I think it will still really work for a lot of people, but a lot of these handicaps in terms of having very limited number of bills payment partners, or in the case of Diskartech, having a 48,000 deposit limit is just too limiting for me. And if we're gonna talk about even you trying to build an emergency fund and whatnot, some of these limitations can be very, very annoying in the future. So keep these two banks in mind as they try to fine-tune their services, but I wouldn't recommend them for now. The reason I chose ING and CIMB is that I personally use these apps. I have accounts with both of them. I have generally good experiences working with the app. There are some downtimes that I think you can probably expect from a digital bank every now and then, more than a traditional bank, because they don't have a physical branch to cater to needs if the digital infrastructure goes down for a bit. And also, customer support has been quite helpful if you ask them. There's some lag, but I think it was affected by the COVID-19 situation where people were sort of displaced and we had to figure out how to operate in the new normal. So that's it. These are the 5 biggest digital banks in the Philippines as of today. I'm very excited of what 2021 will bring in terms of innovation in the financial industry and trying to get more digital bank players or having a lot more upgrades and services that they offer coming in soon. I personally recommend using these digital banks in the first 4 steps in the 8 Pro steps towards financial independence, where we talk about savings habits. You can use the digital bank as like another envelope or another piggy bank if you're saving for something, or if you're trying to come up with the discipline of putting aside money every month or every regular period, or if you're working on your step 2 or step 4 on emergency funds, you can also use that digital bank. I personally have stashed my emergency savings in these digital banks because they're already earning a high interest rate, much better even than time deposits today. If you haven't watched that video on the 8 Pro steps, we will link to that video in the description below and over here. And if you have any other use cases for the digital banks, or if you have questions, feel free to comment down below. If you also are interested in other videos, we're gonna link them right here. And please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and share this with friends who will probably benefit from the video. Thank you once again, and I'll see you in the next one.